Welcome, everybody. This is Jason Schubert of Rich in 5. I just want to say thank you for joining me today on this webinar. I hope that you guys enjoy the next 60 to 90 minutes because I am going to show you and talk to you about a lot of really cool things. A lot of you may not even know exactly why I labeled this the best kept secret in commercial real estate. What is it exactly that I'm going to talk to you about? You have no idea. You're probably thinking, well, what is he going to be talking about? Is he going to be talking about apartment complexes? Is he talking about self-storage? What in the world is Jason going to be sharing with us today? Well, get ready. Hold on. Put your seatbelts on because we're about to have a lot of fun. To me, the most important thing about this business is that you guys have a lot of fun, the way that I have fun, the way that all of my students all over the country are having fun. But before I even get to that, let me go ahead and ask you on the other side of this webinar a very simple but very blunt question. Why on earth did you decide to get into real estate? That's right. I asked you a very blunt question. Think about this, and I'm being very serious. Why on earth did you get into real estate? Was it because of a show? Was it because of a book? Was it because you saw these other people possibly making money in real estate? Why in the world are you in real estate? Now, usually when I'm asking this question and I'm in a room full of people, I'm always getting responses like, well, to make more money, I get a chance for this, or I want to do that, or I like freedom. I want to save time. Okay, well, let's just jump right in it because I'm going to talk about a couple of things today. I'm going to really make you think about the concept of time because a lot of you guys right now that are in real estate, you're basically doing what I did for the longest time, and that was buying houses and purchasing houses so that you could build up cash flow to give you what? Freedom, which in turn gives you that time. But the question that I want to ask you guys right now, and I know I can't hear you answer, but I want you to think about what your answer would be if I was there in front of you. How much money, meaning how much cash flow? I'm not talking about your equity, okay? I'm not talking about net worth. You can't swipe a net worth credit card at the grocery store and pay for your groceries, can you? You can't pay out of your equity. You can't pay for your electric bill or your car payment or the mortgage payment. I mean, think about this. What pays the bills every single month? Cash flow does. So we're going to talk heavily about my favorite subject, which is cash flow. So let's get back to this whole time concept because I want to really drive this home, and we're going to talk about it time and time again on this webinar. And that is, how much cash flow do you need on a monthly basis to truly be free? And when I ask this question all over the country, it's usually, well, I need $2,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 a month in positive cash flow to really be free. To be able for you to leave your job if you have one. Think about that. How much money do you need each month to be able to leave your job and also live comfortably and still be able to pay the bills and maybe take a trip once or twice a year? How much money, how much cash flow do you actually need every single month? So let's break this down. Think about this. If you right now are in residential real estate, which I'm sure that 90% of the people listening to this webinar are, how many houses? Well, first of all, let me ask you this. What is the typical amount of cash flow that you get when you purchase a house? What do you think the national average is? If your answer is between $200 to $300 a month, you're right. The national average for cash flow whenever someone purchases a home is between $200 to $300 all over the country. Now, some are a little bit higher, some are actually a little bit less. What happens if that house ever goes empty? We know that never happens, right? What if the house goes empty? Um, do tenants usually leave the property the way that they found it? They don't, do they? Do you ever have to replace carpet or paint? And if you do, how much is that going to cost you? Four, maybe even $5,000. And does that actually wipe away an entire year's worth of cash flow on one house? It does. So if you need, let's just say, for example, and we're going to do a little bit of simple math here. If you need just $2,000 a month in positive cash flow, how many houses do you have to buy? That's right. Some of you will say, probably 10 houses. Okay. If you want to buy 10 houses, how long is it going to take you to purchase those 10 houses so that you can get that $2,000 a month in positive cash flow? Could be possibly up to a year, and maybe one house a month will get you there, and that's actually pretty aggressive, especially if a lot of you guys may even have full-time jobs. So that's very aggressive. That's one house a month. That way you can get to 10 houses for the year, basically, right? Okay. So if you want $2,000 a month in positive cash flow, you're going to have to wait an entire year by purchasing 10 houses to do so. But what if you guys want what if you just want $4,000 a month in positive cash flow? How many houses do you have to buy? Well, if it took you 10 houses, now it's going to take you 20 houses. So you have to buy 20 houses to get $4,000 a month in positive cash flow. Now, I ask you, how long does it take you to purchase 20 houses? Some of you will probably say, well, maybe 2 years. Okay. That right there is very aggressive, but it's also doable at the same time. So if we say that we need $4,000, that's 20 houses, that's going to be 2 years of purchasing homes. Now, what happens if there's some of you guys who want $5,000? I mean, $5,000, guys, is a good chunk of change. That's $60,000 a year in positive cash flow. How many houses do you have to buy? That's maybe 50, 60 houses, isn't it? And how long is it going to take you to purchase 50 to 60? Wait a second. What if you want to have, and I hear this at almost every event that I speak at, what if you want $10,000 a month in positive cash flow? How many houses do you have to buy? Well, I'm going to use my calculator here. If you 10,000, do I even need to use a calculator? $10,000 a month in cash flow, you're going to have to purchase 50 houses. How long is it going to take you to purchase 50 houses? Think about this. I really want you to think about your time. I actually, I was in California the other day, and I heard a gentleman say that the national average for a man's life expectancy is 78 years old. So if I'm only going to live until I'm 78 years old, I basically take my age now and, subtract that from 78. That's how many years I have left. Now, do I want to spend a bulk of those years doing house after house after house after house? I don't. So, how do I actually teach you guys and show you guys right now how on your first deal, and not taking nearly the amount of time that we just described about, with all of the residential and all the houses that we have to do. I'm going to show you right now, and on your first deal, you can make a minimum of $10,000 a month in positive cash flow on your very first deal, and it will be a fraction of the time. But the cool thing about it is that I'm going to show you how to use the exact same strategies, the same time, and the same energy that you're using right now with your residential real estate and applying it to my best kept secret. So, first of all, I want to ask you before I start clicking through all my slides, why do you think I called this Rich in 5? What is Rich in 5? What do you guys think Rich in 5 stands for? I'm pretty sure that if I was there in front of you, you'd be letting me know, well, it could be, is it rich in 5 years, Jason? Is it possibly, is it rich in 5 minutes? No. If anybody tells you that it's rich in 5 minutes, or if anybody ever says that they can get you rich in 5 minutes, especially in real estate, run. Just look the other way, go the other way, because that's not real. All right. This right here, what I'm going to show you, and if you're in real estate right now, how many of you guys are working? I'm pretty sure that if you're in real estate, this is work. It's all work. It's just, you're not working for somebody else. You actually have an opportunity to work for yourself. So you may even work harder at real estate than what you do working for somebody else. And I think that that's fair. I work harder myself than what I did when I was working for my former employer. I've never worked so hard in my life. But you know what? I get more enjoyment out of it, and I know that I'm fulfilling my dream versus somebody else's dream. So, Rich in Five, guys, really isn't rich in, you know, it's really basically my story. It's not really a number that I want to give you guys. I mean, it did start off as a number for me. It was rich. I was where I wanted to be in 5 years. That was, that was the initial thought behind Rich in Five and why I named this company. But the real reason that I named Rich in Five, or this company Rich in Five, is because it's really my story. And the cool thing about this is that each and every single one of you on this webinar right now, you're going to have your own stories. Everybody who's involved with real estate will always have their own unique story. But I bet anything that mine is going to resemble very, very closely to yours. But the true meaning behind Rich in Five is this right here. Let me show you what the real meaning of Rich in Five is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is the true meaning of Rich in Five to me. That is the reason I'm so enthusiastic. That's why I love doing what I do. I love sharing all of my stories and my ups and my downs. And I mean, you guys are going to hear about it all. Okay, so I'm not going to hold anything back. But where it all started for me was I was working at a company called Dell Computers. I'm pretty sure that a lot of you guys have heard of Dell Computers. And while I was working at Dell, I mean, I actually kind of liked it. I was actually getting paid. I started when I was only 22 years old, and I spent almost 10 years at Dell Computers working in a cubicle. How many of you guys have ever been in a cubicle? I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have. Um, my cubicle was not very big, and you guess what I did every single day? When I showed up to this cube, I would answer the phone 100 plus times. Thank you for calling Dell. This is Jason. How can I help you? With a big, huge smile on my face, right? So I did that for almost 10 years. About a third of my life went to working at Dell Computers, sitting in a cube, saying the same exact mundane thing over and over and over and over and over again. Anyway, let me move on. I was probably a couple of years in. I liked my job. I was making very good money at the time. And I had just purchased my first home. I had just gotten married, just got back from my honeymoon. And about a month and a half later, I found out that my grandfather had passed away. And when my grandfather passed away, I went into my manager's cubicle. His cubicle was just a little bit bigger than mine. His name is Wayne. And I went to Wayne and I said, Wayne, um, I'm sorry to come in here and bother you like this. However, I just found out that my grandfather just passed away and I need to go to his funeral. What do you guys think that Wayne said to me when I asked him if I could go to my grandfather's funeral? He didn't just tell me no, guys. He told me absolutely not. He said, Jason, do you see that board sitting right behind you? I said, yes. He goes, you see all the numbers that are on the board? I said, yes. Those are the numbers that I have to hit, Jason, on a monthly basis. And if you're not here on the phones making 100 calls a day, I don't hit those numbers. And if I don't hit those numbers, that's not a good thing. But I tell you what, Jason, I'm not going to be the guy who says you cannot go to your grandfather's funeral. I'm going to be the guy that tells you that if you do, I'm going to be putting you on what's called the RIF list. How many of you guys know what RIFs are? That's actually a fancy name for layoffs. It's reduction in force. He said that I was going to be the very first one, the first name on the list if I decided to go. So do you know what I did? What do you guys think I did? You know, a lot of people say, man, I know what you did, Jason. The way you are, you probably told that guy just to shove it, stick it where the sun don't shine, and you just left. You just walked right out. But you know what? I didn't do that. And I hate to disappoint all of you right now. I tucked my tail in between my legs like a coward, and I walked right back to my cubicle. And I picked up the phone and I said, thank you for calling Dell. This is Jason. How can I help you? And every day I think about that day and how I let somebody else at a job, at a company, tell me that I couldn't spend or go to my own grandfather's funeral. And what that did to me, it changed me inside. And I don't know if any of you guys have ever had anything like this happen to you before, but this changed me. It made me look at things completely different. It was almost to the point where I was, what in the world am I doing here? But what was I going to do? I had just gotten married. I just bought a house. I mean, I was scared. I didn't know what to do. So I went back and picked up the phone until I found a guy by the name of Brady. Now, Brady was a manager at Dell, and I found out through the grapevine that Brady owned a lot of houses, and he was in real estate. So I asked Brady if he would meet with me just for a few minutes, and Brady said, "Sure, I'll do it. What is it that I can help you with?" I said, "Brady, you have to tell me about all these houses that I heard that you have." And he said, "Well, let's keep it on the hush hush. Let's go into a meeting room." So Brady takes me to a meeting room. We go inside, and he says, "Jason, I own 40 houses, my man. I make $8,000 a month in positive cash flow." And when I heard that he made $8,000 in positive cash flow, I was just blown away. I was floored because I was thinking to myself, Brady, if you're making $8,000 a month in positive cash flow, what in the world are you still doing here? I asked him that. And he said to me, he looked at me just dead serious. And he said, "Well, where else can I go and surf the web all day, tell my reps what to do, and make $100,000 a year?" That's exactly what he said to me. I'll never forget it. And I said, "Well, that's a very good point. That's a very good point." But in the back of my mind, I was just thinking, Brady, man, if you just spent the most important hours of the day between 8 and 5, how much more cash flow would you have? Hey, I got a question for you. How many years did it take for you to get $8,000 a month in positive cash flow? He said, "I've been doing this for 8 years now." I said, "Okay, that sounds great." Now, I tell you what, give me just a couple of pointers. What do I do? I want to get started. I'm sold. I just want to do this. What do I have to do? He said, "First of all, you need to read a book." I said, "Great. Does it have any pictures?" He said, "No." But here's the book. It's Retire Young, Retire Rich by Robert Kiyosaki. Now, a lot of you guys probably already know that book. It is not a how-to book. It is a mindset book. And let me just tell you that it worked. Being as angry as what I was throughout the years while I was working at Dell, this book made me even angrier. I could barely walk through the door after reading this book and picking up the phone saying, "Thank you for calling Dell. This is Jason. How can I help you?" Over and over and over again. It made me sick to my stomach after reading this book. So it really worked. But what it really told me was, it really showed me what it was, you're an employee. You're working for somebody else. I mean, it really was a great mindset book, and it worked. So I asked Brady, "Okay, well, what's the second thing?" He said, "Jason, the second thing you need to do, if you want to learn all these cool, fancy techniques that I'm using, you need to join your local real estate investors club." Really? What is that? Well, basically, it's a club, Jason, that's going to teach you how to do a lot of creative strategies. Okay, so I found one in Austin, and I joined immediately, and I started going to this club. And after, well, how long do you guys think it took me to get my very first deal? It took me it actually took me 5 months to get my very first deal, and it was perfect. It was a bread and butter, beautiful house where I was able to get $200 a month in positive cash flow. And right after that, I even was able to accept a $6,000 upfront option payment from my tenant buyer. I was excited. I did it. I mean, what do you guys think that does to your confidence when you do something like this? I mean, I was through the roof. So you know what I did? Just as you read right there, I did 17 more properties that year alone, all using one of my favorite strategies, lease options. So I was able to find house after house after house using lease options. Now, after finding all these houses and after a whole year and buying all these houses, morning, noon, night, weekends, I mean, I was really motivated. I just wouldn't stop. What do you think that became to me? Think about this. What in the world did that become? It became what we call at Dell transactional, meaning that I was always looking for that very next deal to get that next $200 a month in cash flow. And I can't tell you how many times it was scary, those Thursdays and Fridays and hanging signs and almost getting shot or ran over or whatever it was that I had to go through during that time. I was saying to myself, you know what? There's got to be something else too, besides just getting $200 a month. And all of a sudden, there was a television show that came out. And boy, was I excited to see this show. It was called, you ready? You know what it is. Flip This House. That's right. I was so excited. Rehabbing houses. I can do that. Piece of cake. I want to make that kind of money. $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 on all these flips. I want to do that. Now, I ask you guys, can you make mistakes rehabbing houses? Absolutely. I mean, guys, I made a lot of mistakes rehabbing houses. Matter of fact, the first one was I went back to my real estate investment club and I started asking people, hey, what do I need to do to start rehabbing houses? And the first person was like, hey, all you have to do, Jason, is you sub everything out and you'll be good to go. Okay, so that's what I did. I was subbing everything out. And where do you guys think I was when I was subbing everything out? That's right. I was at the house looking for the carpet person or the painter or the landscaper, morning, noon, night, weekends. Where are these guys? Don't they ever work? So I didn't have time for that. I got lucky and I sold that house. And that was that was a time consuming mistake. So I go back to my real estate investment club. I still want to do these rehabs, thinking that I can hopefully not make any more mistakes. The second person comes up and says, well, Jason, don't sub everything out. Hire a general contractor. But don't let them buy all the materials. You buy all the materials and let them sub everything out because they already have all the subs. That's a great idea. But where was I then? You guessed it. I was at Home Depot and Lowe's morning, noon, night. Now, I know a lot of you guys are big Home Depot and Lowe's fans, and I think it's a great store, but I can't stand going into Home Depot or Lowe's anymore. I mean, I did it so much. They have you. You can't just go into Home Depot or Lowe's for 10 or 30 minutes or, 10 or 20 minutes. You're there for hours. You're there for hours. And so I just don't, I just send the wife. I'm sorry, honey, you've got to go to this place. I've been burned. I went there way too many times. But you know what? Even though those are comical mistakes and very time consuming mistakes, and I look back and I'm like, wow, I can't believe I did that. And, I go back and I think about all these things. But you know what I think about the most? Is that those mistakes actually made me a lot of money in the long run because I learned from my mistakes. I'm okay with making mistakes, guys. You have to be okay with making mistakes. I've built businesses by making mistakes. It's okay. You're going to make them. Just don't do the same stupid mistake twice. That's all I have to tell you. So, what did I learn with my two mistakes? Well, number one, I knew how much the subs were charging, and now I know what all the material costs. So, guess what? I was always out there figuring out how I'm going to get the best deal for my general contractor because I know what all the materials and the subs are going to cost. So I started systematizing everything and I started doing multiple flips a month. Now, what do you guys think that became to me? That's right. It too became transactional. I was always having to look for that next deal. I was always having to meet that REO broker to give me that pocket deal. I mean, I was always having to look for that next deal. And then all of a sudden, another show comes out. I love these shows. Another show comes out about real estate. And guess what this one was? I was thinking to myself when this show came out, I want to be rich in real estate. I just don't want to be, this $200 a month is great, but I mean, I want to be rich. How many of you guys got in real estate because you wanted to be rich in real estate? Well, what are all the rich people? Who are all the guys flying around in jets and wearing the suits and the fancy car? Wait a second. That television show called The Apprentice came out, and I really got a chance to know who Donald Trump was. Donald Trump, like a lot of other people, do commercial real estate. A lot of wealthy people in commercial real estate. So you know what? That was my decision. I said, okay, now I know what I need to do. I've gotten a lot of lessons out of buying houses. I've done, creative strategies for cash flow. I've rehabbed a lot of houses, made a ton of mistakes. I'm ready for commercial real estate now. I want that big money every single month. I don't want just hundreds of dollars. I want thousands of dollars a month on each and every deal that I do. So I found, instead of going back to my club, in which I actually did, but none of them did any commercial real estate. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to find something. And I went back to my local Austin newspaper. And in the Sunday paper, in the investment section, I found a 250 unit property in Waco, Texas. How many of you guys have ever heard of Waco, Texas? Well, it's just about an hour and a half north of Austin. And I found a 250 unit property listed for only $650,000. Wow. That's it. Only 650 grand. And so I was stoked. So I called up the broker and I said, Mr. Broker, can you tell me a little bit about the property? And he was a good old Southern boy. He said, sure. Mr. Schubert, this property is very, very interesting. Yes, you're going to have to go and take a look at it. It's about 90% occupied, and you need to go and look at it because it's just one of those properties that you really need to go and look at. So I decided, guess what I decided to do? Go and look at it. So I get in the car, drive up to Waco, and he was right. What an interesting property. 250 units, 90% occupied. The parking lot was completely full, although it was like a dirt parking lot. It was all single story, just an interesting, weird looking property. So I got back down to Austin as quickly as I could. I picked up the phone and I called the broker. I said, Mr. Broker, I have an offer I would like to make to you. And he said, what is it? My offer to you, sir, is $250,000. That's right. Instead of 650, which is what they were asking, I offered only 250. And the broker said, Mr. Schubert, let me see if I can get a hold of the sellers, and I'll call you back. And then he hangs up the phone. Now, did I think this guy was ever going to call me back? No, I didn't. However, 10 minutes later, my phone rings. I look at it, and I go, oh my goodness, it's that 254 area code. Must be him. So I pick up the phone, and I say, this is Jason. And the broker says, Mr. Schubert, I just want to let you know that I got a hold of the sellers, and congratulations, they have happily accepted your offer. Oh boy. And I said, well, they did? Okay. Can you hold on just one quick second for me? And then I put the phone down and I go into my bathroom and I look in the mirror and I started patting myself on the back. Wow, you are a great negotiator. Jason, wow, you did it again, man. You were so good. Then I go back in there, I pick up the phone. I say, Mr. Broker, yes, this is Jason. Thank you for holding. That was a fantastic negotiation. However, I'm not able to do the deal. Click. I hung up on him. Now, why in the world would I hang up on this guy after he just said that the sellers accepted my offer? Well, the reason why is because I was scared, to tell you the truth. I was scared. I was nervous. My first question that came to mind was, well, where in the world am I going to get $250,000? I had no idea. How was I even going to collect the money? What was I going to do? Go door to door and say, hello, I think it's your time of the month to pay up. So I had no earthly idea. I was scared and I hung up on the guy. However, my mother lives up in the Dallas area and I'm in Austin, and I go up and I visit all the time, and I get to drive right by this property, at least on a monthly basis. And it's a constant reminder of an amazing deal I probably lost. But you know what that did to me, which actually was pretty interesting, was that because of my multiple trips to see my mother, I told myself, man, you know what? I don't care what the next commercial deal is. I've made lots of mistakes before. Whatever deal comes your way, you're just going to throw yourself into it. Okay? No matter what. I don't care if it's office space. I don't care if it's retail. I don't care if it's an apartment complex. Whatever it is, you're going to do it. So, um, how many of you guys believe that deals produce deals? Think about it. What does that mean? What does deals produce deals? What does that mean? It means if you're out there looking for a deal right now, you're going to find something. Maybe another seller or a buyer or a tenant or a lender. You never know. Deals produce deals. Do you guys think that because I stopped or didn't get that first deal that I stopped my rehabbing business? I didn't. I continued to rehab my houses. And one day I got a phone call from my hard money lender named Lisa. And Lisa called me up and said, Jason, I'm so glad I got a hold of you. I have this amazing deal. As a matter of fact, Jason, when I got this deal, I immediately thought of you. And I was very excited at this point. When she said this, I was just, okay, great. Lisa, what is it? You got this amazing deal. She goes, yes, Jason, when I got this deal, I immediately thought of you. I said, great, what is it? She says, it's a piece of crap. And I thought to myself, wait a second, Lisa, did you just refer to me as crap? Like, because you got crap and then you thought of Jason? And she said, no. What I meant was, I said, wait, I told, it's okay. I love it when you do that, Lisa. Don't worry about it. What do you have for me? She says, I can't tell you over the phone. Just meet me at the house. I said, okay. So we met at the house. She gets out of her car, hands me this huge stack of paperwork, and she goes, Jason, this right here is the absolute best kept secret in real estate. Now, do you guys want to see what the best kept secret in real estate is? Well, I hope so, because here it is. Now, does this look like the best kept secret in real estate? Lisa, you're handing me all the stack of paperwork. I don't really know what this is. She says, Jason, this is an 88 unit motel in San Angelo, Texas. And I said to myself, well, I asked Lisa, this is great. Where in the world is San Angelo, Texas? And she laughed. And she said, well, it's 3 hours northwest of Austin. It's a piece of cake to get there. Actually, a pretty drive. I said, okay. Well, what makes this the best kept secret in real estate, Lisa? She said, the reason why is because out of the 88 units, 22 of them are rentable. And I said, okay, well, wait a second. You just handed me an 88 unit hotel. You said everything's great about it. But now you're telling me the reason why it's so great is because 22 units are rentable? She goes, yep. I said, okay, why is that so great? She said, because with those 22 units, the property is breaking even. Now you've got my attention. What do you mean the property's breaking even? Because I had no idea. What do you mean the property's breaking even? She said, Jason, with the amount of revenue that's coming in on this property right here, it pays for its electricity, the water, the gas, the phone, the cable, the internet, the payroll, the insurance, taxes, and even a payment to the first lien holder. Now I'm thinking to myself, well, wow, this is okay. So maybe if I just fix up all the additional rooms, that should be all cash flow. Common sense would tell you that. She goes, you need to go take a look at the property. So I believe in always going and taking a look at my properties, even when I was doing houses. So I drove up to San Angelo, and when I walked through the lobby doors, she was absolutely right. It was a piece of crap. I mean, as you can see there, those are before and after photos. You see plywood up in the ceiling. It my goodness, we basically gutted the entire lobby and every other room in that hotel. But she was right. It was a piece of crap. As a matter of fact, guys, it was so bad that we actually gave a big number of the rooms names. A lot of the rooms had their own names. They had their own nicknames. Meaning we had one room we called the mold room. Now that was wall to wall mold, but that's, we've seen that with houses. That's kind of a given. But one of the interesting rooms was the cat room. That's right, the cat room. Now, what would happen is we'd open the door, turn on the lights, and all of the cats would just scatter and disappear. But we were not allowed to go in and inspect the room because all of the fleas would jump on your legs. It was disgusting. So, that was basically a gut job. We knew that we had to do that one. But my favorite room, gentlemen, you're going to love this one. My favorite room was the cigarette room. That's right. We had a paying customer who would go outside and he would pick up cigarette butts off the ground, off the street, go back into his room, smoke the rest of those cigarette butts, and then flick them along the perimeter of his wall. Now, he had a 3.5 foot wall of cigarette butts outside basically the perimeter of his room. He also filled up his toilet, his tub, and his sink full of cigarette butts. Now, this same gentleman actually, while we had the property under contract, fell asleep one night with one of those cigarette butts in his mouth and burned down 3 of our rooms. Luckily, he's still okay, and we got a nice check at closing from the insurance company to repair those 3 rooms. But yeah, guys, this property was so bad. Now, what do you do when you go to a property? Do you know what are one of the things you have to check after you've located a house? Remember, I had no idea what to do. This is my very first hotel. What am I going to do? Well, the first thing after I checked out a house, what I would go and I would check the comps in the area. So that's exactly what I did here. And lucky for me, there was another hotel just maybe not even a block away called the El Patio. Now I thought when I walked through the lobby doors of El Patio, I was going to get served some sort of tortilla chips and some salsa or something, but that didn't happen. I was a little disappointed with that. But anyway, I walk in El Patio. Lady was so pleasant behind the desk, and I asked her. I said, "Hello, my name's Jason, and I would like to see a lot of your rooms, please." And she said to me, "Well, you can't see a lot of them. You can see 2." Okay, why can I only see 2? Because the others are occupied, sir. Really? So, how many rooms do you have here at this hotel? She said, "We have 100 rooms." Wow. So wait a second. Does that mean that you're 98% occupied? She said, "You're pretty quick, aren't you?" I said, "Well, I try to be." So can I see your 2 rooms? She said, "Sure." So I go and I look at the 2 rooms, and guys, do you want to see what the rooms look like? They look very, very similar to the one right there on the left. Can you believe that? Now, that is a before and an after photo of one of my San Angelo rooms, one of my property rooms. But this on the one on the left was very, very similar to what El Patio had, except El Patio had a fresh coat of paint on the outside and was 98% occupied. So I got really excited. I go back into the lobby and I go, "Okay, ma'am, can you tell me what your rates are?" She said, "Sure. We charge $45 for the day. We charge $168 for the week, and we charge $650 for the month." Now I was super excited because my hotel was like $18 a day or an hour. 150. I'm just kidding, guys. I don't condone the whole hourly thing. I'm just letting you know right off the bat. But really, mine was about 18 bucks a day. Then it was only like 115 for the week and about 300 bucks for the month. So anyway, it was running those numbers. I got very, very excited. I go back to Austin, and where do you think? Because I needed to get a loan for this property. And the type of loan that I got was what's called an SBA loan, and I needed $175,000. Where do you think I got that $175,000? A private lender. Where do you think I found the private lender? My local real estate investment club. So I really had none of my own money out of my own pocket, except for a lot of gas money to and from, and some McDonald's, because there was one of my favorite McDonald's was in between, Austin and San Angelo. But along the way, we had to be very, very creative. And what I mean by that is we had lots of obstacles. And every once in a while, with every obstacle we got, we had to not only be patient, we had to be very persistent, and we had to be creative. As you can see here, we got a letter from the fire marshal. The fire marshal said, "We were about to condemn you and close you down." Why? Because that blue chain link fence right there was not tall enough around the pool, and it was dangerous. So we put our heads together, and I told the manager, "Hey, Barry, go ahead and put a lattice fence on top of the chain link fence so we can stay in code." And that he did. So we were very creative. We were able to stay open, and we didn't get shut down. But guys, I had every chance and opportunity to quit on this deal. I did. We were about to be condemned. We had somebody burn down 3 of our rooms. We had, let me see here. We also had, well, first of all, we had one of the private investors basically pass away 2 weeks before closing. Now, what I mean by private investors, plural, is that this property had 4 liens on it, fractionalized over 16 individual private investors. I had to negotiate with each and every private investor on this property. But at the end of the day, we were able to purchase it, even with that one private investor that unfortunately passed away. We had to talk and deal with the heirs at that point, and but we got it all settled. It took me 9 months to close this hotel. 9 months. But did I quit? I did not. Did I stop? Did I give up? I did not. I kept moving forward because at the end of the day, if I would have quit, if I would have stopped, if I would have given up, because it got a little tough for me, because there were a couple of things that were in my way, I wouldn't be doing this right now, talking to you guys on this webinar and helping people all over the country purchase their very first hotel. So with that, I'm very certain that all of you guys want to see the numbers on this property right here, my very first hotel. And here they are. We purchased this property for $804,000. We got an SBA loan. We put $450K into it. It has 88 rooms where the mortgage is $1.25 million. Now the expenses on the property, they fluctuate, and that includes a debt service, between $25,000 to $35,000 a month. Why in the world would the expenses fluctuate? Well, the reason is because it gets very, very hot in San Angelo in the summertime, and we're always about 90 to 95% occupied. So with more occupancy, there's more payroll because there's more rooms to clean. And when it gets really hot in the summertime, we're always having to run those air conditioners. So let's say worst case scenario though, the expenses are right around $35,000 a month in July and in August. However, because our occupancy is so high, and it has been since we took over, our revenues are between $50,000 to $60,000 a month. That means we take in $50,000 to $60,000 a month in revenue, but going out, which are expenses, worst case scenario are 35. So if I take in 50K and yet we have to pay an expenses 35, how much money is left over? That's right, $15,000 a month in positive cash flow on my very first deal. Now, with that deal, did I have the $175,000? I did not. So I did not want to be greedy. I believe the more you give, the more you get. And I gave to my partner who actually put up the money, that $175,000, 50% of the deal. Now what that means though is if the property generates $15,000 in cash flow, how much would I get? That's right, $7,500 in cash flow. But I have to ask you a question. How many houses would I have had to purchase to make $7,500 a month in positive cash flow? How many houses? If the average amount is $200, maybe $300, I would have had to have purchased in 9 months about 35 to 37 homes to generate $7,500 a month in cash flow. I did it in 9 months, and I did it on my very first deal with none of my own money. Now, where do we find these amazing deals? Because guess what? This was just the tip of the iceberg because I built this in the recession. And we're going to talk a little bit about this here in just a few minutes. Why do you think there are so many deals out there? Well, first of all, they're very easy to find. If you get a hard money lender that takes back a hotel, you better chase that deal because guess what? It's going to be a great one. They only lend to a certain LTV, usually 60, 65%. Okay? And hard money lenders don't want to take back hotels. They absolutely don't. Brokers. Guys, one of the easiest way to find hotels are brokers. But what kind of broker? What kind of broker are we going to talk to help us get into a hotel? Are we going to talk to any broker? No. Are we going to talk to a commercial broker? Maybe. More specifically, you're going to talk with a hotel and a motel broker. officially known as hospitality brokers. And where do you find hospitality brokers? Where do you find anything? Google, right? You can go to LoopNet. They're everywhere. Very simple to find. Banks. What about banks, guys? What kind of banks are we going to? Because there's going to be another wave of foreclosures coming due because there's a lot of ARMs that everybody did. Those beautiful balloon notes that everybody did in 6, 7, 8, and 9, they're all starting to come due. Billions and billions of hotel debt is coming due very, very shortly. So in the next 2 to 3 years. So I'm very excited about banks, but what kind of banks? Not Wells Fargo, not Chase, not Bank of America. We're going to state, local, community banks. Those are the banks that we want to actually get to. Now, how do we evaluate these deals once we get them? I want you to think about something. I know this might seem a little weird, but when you're evaluating your hotel and somebody sends you a deal, more problems, more opportunities. Problems equal opportunities with hotels. The more problems that your hotel has, the one that you're looking at, the more eventual cash flow you're going to have in the long run, the more opportunities. So I love problems. Star report. What in the world is a star report? I love star reports because it's a third party independent company that does a study on your hotel along with other surrounding hotels in the area. So, for example, it's going to give you two vital pieces of information. Number one, it's going to give you your occupancy. Okay? So, basically the percentage of rooms that are occupied versus the amount of available rooms that you have. So it's going to give you your occupancy. The second thing it's going to give to you is ADR, your average daily rate. So basically the average amount of money that each room that you sell or rent, whatnot, how much you take in for every room that you sell. So if you're selling your rooms at $50 a night, each room is $50, then your ADR is $50. Okay? But the coolest thing I love about hotels is the way that we evaluate them simply. How many of you guys have seen the movie Wall Street? See, there was a scene, an episode in Wall Street 1 where Gordon Gekko is having a meeting with his protege, Bud Fox. And he tells Bud in the locker room, he says, "Look, the public is out there throwing darts at a board, sport. I don't throw darts at a board. I bet on sure things." And that's exactly what we do. Didn't he say something about Sun Tzu, the art of war, every battle is won before it's even fought? That is exactly what we do. It's simple addition and subtraction, guys. Basically, we back ourselves into these deals. We know exactly how much money we are going to make before we even close. We know exactly what the expenses are and what we have to take on before we even close. We know how much money the property has made yesterday, last week, last month, last year, last 3 years before we even close. So we back ourselves into these deals and we know exactly how much cash flow we're going to make when we close. But all above all, ladies and gentlemen, for every deal that you do, no matter if it's another business, if it's a house or a home or another type of commercial piece of real estate, every single deal that you want to get involved with in business takes one thing, and that's a motivated seller. We want to go after motivated sellers, and there are lots of them. So you're thinking, well, wait a second. If all these hotels make so much money, why on earth would a lot of them be motivated? It's a great question. I mean, look at this property right here, Brunswick, Georgia. A beautiful property in Brunswick, Georgia. As a matter of fact, does this look like that San Angelo Lodge property? It doesn't. This does not look like the San Angelo Lodge one bit. As a matter of fact, this is more in line with the hotels that we're purchasing now. This looks a lot like almost all of the hotels that we do now. What does this property or type of property look like? Think about it. I mean, that's a real question. What does this hotel look like? Who do you think? Meaning, who do you think we cater to? I want you guys to think about something, and I want to really drive this home. We cater to 90% of the population. Blue collar, working class individuals. I want you to think of us as the Walmart of hotels. meaning that we cater to everybody that want to stay daily, they might want to stay weekly, and our customers can even stay monthly. 90% of the population. You see, we don't have the mindset that we're going to build properties and they will come. Rich and Five's mindset and my mindset is this. We're going to buy these properties right, and then we make them come. We have a specific model that we go by. We don't have the model where we're driving down the road, there's a gas station, oh, there's a hotel for sale, maybe we should buy that one, even though they'll basically give it to us. That's not our model. We have a specific model that we adhere to, and all of my students here adhere to, and that is why they're so successful. So why would this property right here, why would the seller be in such trouble? Well, real simple. I took a student there. We spent 3 days in the lobby, and I watched 50 people a day walk in, and I watched 30 people a day walk out. That's right. Why on earth would 50 people a day stop into this hotel and 30 of them just walk right out? I mean, look at this place. It looks pretty good from the outside, right? Well, I tell you what, I'm going to role play for you guys. You ready? I'm going to be both the customer and the front desk. So when the customer walks through the door, the customer would say, yes, I need a room. Just a single king for me tonight, please, non-smoking. And the front desk person would say, okay, great. I tell you what, I'm actually going to give you a $5 discount. And the reason why I'm giving you this $5 discount is because the owner forgot to pay the cable bill. That's right. So I'm going to give you a $5 discount because we have no cable TV. How many of you guys would actually stay at a hotel with no cable TV whatsoever? Not many of you at all, probably. But you'd be surprised. A lot of people just want a room for the night, so they would stay. So that was one reason. However, the customer would reach into their pocket. They'd pull out their credit card. They'd slam it on the front desk, and the front desk person goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm really sorry again. I can't take your credit card. But guess what? Go across the street to the 7-Eleven. There's an ATM machine. Pull out your money. Come right back over, and I'll be happy to take your cash. And what do you think the customer would do then? That's right. They'd go right across the street to the Red Roof Inn. Okay? So first of all, I watch 50 people a day walk in, 30 people a day walk out because no cable TV, because no credit card machine that worked, because the swimming pool was down, because the Wi-Fi was completely out, because, oh, and by the way, what time does it get dark in the winter, ladies and gentlemen? What time does it get dark in the winter, ladies and gentlemen? Usually around 5 to 6 o'clock, right? And when people are pulling off the highway to find themselves a hotel, what time is that usually? Around 5 to 6 o'clock. And if there are no light bulbs, no working light bulbs in your sign, do you think they're going to stop at your hotel? Probably not. So, because of no cable, no Wi-Fi, no pool, no credit card machine, and no working sign, they were losing lots of customers. And the ones that they did, 50 of them would walk in and 30 would walk right out. It was amazing. Now, why is the seller so motivated? Why did all this happen to him? Because in 1989, he purchased this hotel. He owned it free and clear. Things are looking really good for him until 2006. What did everybody else in 2006 do? That's right. He refinanced. And when he refinanced, he did not refinance with a typical rate and term refi. He did one of those beautiful fancy refis called a cash out refi. And when he did his cash out refi, what did he do? He pulled out $1 million. That's what he did. And with that $1 million, what did he do with that? Did he go to Vegas? Did he go shopping? Did he buy some cars? What did he do with his $1 million? Nope. If you answered any of those, you'd be wrong. This was a conservative investor, and he purchased 10 more hotels. That's right. He got himself into 10 more hotels, except he was focusing on business travelers and tourists, and he was building new ones, and he was buying at the height of the market. And what happened in 2009, 10, and 11? That's right. The market crashed. Tourism dropped. Business travel dropped. And he started robbing Peter to pay Paul. And he basically gutted this hotel and took everything from it to try and save the other 10 hotels that he had just purchased closer to his home in Atlanta. So, that is the reason why he was motivated, and that is the reason why we got such an amazing deal. We knew exactly what to do to fix this property. Now, who wants to see the numbers? Here they are. 146 rooms. We got it for a 1.5 purchase price. Unbelievable. 300 went into it for repairs. And so Kelly out of Houston owns this property. She's got a mortgage, I think, about 1.8. We actually got the seller to do financing. Now, we understood that after backing ourselves into the deal that the expenses were right around $45,000 a month. And looking at the star report, this property had only a 22% occupancy. Everybody else in the area had a 58% occupancy. Now, if you have a property with a 22% occupancy, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, it's a great thing if you're the buyer, okay? Because that means that you have, remember what I said, problems equal opportunities? Well, that's a huge problem, which gives you a huge opportunity for upside. Because if you could just get on par with everybody else at 58%, how much money will you make? Well, speaking of money, let's talk about it. She's got 146 rooms, I think, available. And let's see, I think her ADR is 49. I think it's actually higher now, but let's just stick with 49. But let's play a game. I want every single person on this webinar to grab your cellular phone. You've got a calculator on it. I usually say calculator, aka cellular phone. Get your cell phones out, get your calculators out, whatever's easier, and let's play a game. Now, if Kelly has all 146 rooms up and running, and we know that the expenses are $45,000 a month, what happens? How many rooms does Kelly sell if she has a 30% occupancy? Okay, we started off going into it with 22. If she hits 30% occupancy, how many rooms does she sell that day? So you would take 146 times 30%. That means that she would sell 44 rooms. Okay, 43.8, 44 rooms. Now, if you sell 44 rooms, and each room is $49, what is 44 times 49? $2,156 that day. That means that if she had a 30% occupancy that day, let's say on a Tuesday, she took in $2,156. However, there's 30 days in a month. So what's 2156 times 30 days in a month? That's $64,680. So you take $64,000 minus the $45,000 in expenses, and that equals $19,000 in positive cash flow at only a 30% occupancy on her very first deal. Now, what if she gets the occupancy up to 40% occupancy? Let's run the numbers. 146 times 40%. That means that she sold 58 rooms. And if she sells 58 rooms times $49 per room, that's $2,800. And $2,800 times 30 days in a month is $85,000 in gross revenue at a 40% occupancy. Now, don't get too excited yet, because the expenses don't remain at $45,000. Remember, with a higher occupancy, you have higher payroll and higher expenses because you've got more housekeeping, cleaning rooms, you have higher electricity, water, and gas. So instead of $45,000, the expenses need to be $55,000. So let's bump it up by 10 grand. But 85 minus 55 is $30,000 a month in positive cash flow at a 40% occupancy. Now, I want to ask you something. What was on the star report the average occupancy of everybody else in the area? That's right, 58%. So if Kelly gets 50, if she's just on par with everybody, and I mean, think about this. How do most hotels, how do they market? They have a sign in the yard, and maybe they're on the internet. So if we're just on par with everybody else, doing exactly what everybody else does, that means 146 times 58%. That means we sold 84 rooms on average for the month. 84 times $49 per room is $4,149 per day at a 58% occupancy times 30 days in a month. That's $124,000. Now, if the expenses, obviously your occupancy went up. So let's say your expenses go up to from 55 up to 75. You subtract 124,000 minus $75,000 because now you have more payroll, more housekeeping, right? More electricity, more water, more gas. Wow. 124 minus 75 is what? That's $49,000 in positive cash flow at a 58% occupancy. Now, how many of you guys ever run in any hotels where you've walked in the door, you've tried to check in because you didn't have time to make a reservation, and they said, "Whoops, sorry, we're 100% occupied." All over the country. Now, the revenue, the amount of income that we're talking about right here is what? Is one stream of income. What is this type of revenue called? It's called room revenue, meaning this is the amount of money that you make off of selling the rooms at your hotel. But you want to know why I really love hotels, guys? It's for this right here. Multiple streams of cash flow. How many hotels have you seen that come with meeting space or conference centers? Almost all of them, except for maybe a Motel 6. I mean, almost every hotel that you come across will have some sort of meeting space, and those meeting spaces can be leased or rented per day for anywhere from $300 to $1,000 a day, and they're usually rented almost every single weekend and on almost every single Wednesday to some sort of small church group. Okay, that's $2,000 to $4,000 a month extra in cash flow just from having meeting space or a conference center. But what about restaurants? What about restaurants and bars? Do you ever see hotels with restaurants or bars attached? Absolutely. Do I want you to be a bar owner or a restaurant owner and run those as well? Absolutely not. But what I do want you to do is lease to those people who do. Meaning that, guys, you can get anywhere from $2,500 all the way up to $7,500 a month in a triple net lease just from a restaurant or a bar lease, and that is pure cash flow. Has nothing to do with your meeting space, has nothing to do with your room revenue. I love those. What about cutting expenses? Can cutting expenses be a form of cash flow? You better believe it, because if you're able to cut, maybe a cable bill, uh, uh, a tax bill. One of my favorites is payroll, because our payroll runs anywhere from 150 to 200K a year. I've come across payrolls, guys, that have been $400,000 a year. If you're able to save $100,000 a year in payroll, how much money did you just generate? $100,000, because cutting your expenses has nothing to do with the amount of revenue that's coming in each month. It's just a matter of keeping the revenue that does come in. And finally, the eviction process. How many of you guys have ever had to evict anybody? And when you evict somebody, is that a fun process? Probably not. Is it a timely process? Absolutely. Um, Guys, you want to know what the eviction process is with hotels? You know why I love hotels? It's because there is no eviction process. If you don't pay, you don't stay. It's real simple. And we call the cops. And in 15 minutes, you were escorted off of the property. Just like that. Now, I have laundry here. Laundry. Now, why on earth would I get so excited about laundry? Well, first of all, you have to think about who it is that we cater to, right? We cater to blue collar, working class individuals, contractors, truck drivers, everyday folks, right? And our people stay daily, they stay weekly, and they stay monthly. Are we going to send them to the local washateria? No, we are not. Let me ask you a question. I'm going to bring you back to the very beginning of when we first started to speak. If you want to make $2,000 a month in positive cash flow, how many houses do you have to buy? About 10, right? And how long is it going to take you to purchase those 10 houses? Could be almost an entire year, right? Almost one house a month. Guys, when I buy a hotel, all I have to do is pick up the phone, and in 15 minutes, I will order 4 washers and 4 dryers, and I will make between $1,000 to $2,000 a month and positive cash flow. And yes, that is a lot of quarters, but I don't mind counting them. All right, that's $1,000 to $2,000 a month in extra cash flow just from the laundry income alone, and there are a lot more. Now, private lenders, oh my goodness, guys, why are private lenders so excited about working with you? Well, number one, if you ever have a private investor that you're speaking about hotels with, here's the cool thing. What do most private lenders get when they're lending on a house? They get interest on their money. Do they get any points? Do they get that? All they get are interest, right? And that interest is maybe 6, maybe 8, maybe possibly even 10%. Look, I'll cut to the chase. Our private lenders love working with us. The reason why is because we take care of them. Number one, they get interest on the money that they lend in the form of, let's say for example 10% interest. Okay, so our lenders will get interest on the money that they lend, but we also give them interest in the property as well, meaning we'll give them even an equity share into the property. And let's say for example we give them 10 and 10. We give them 10% interest on their money, and we give them 10% interest in the property. What is the kicker that they have? There's three things: interest on their money, interest in the property, which means that there's cash flow that could be coming their way, and also they get equity. So on the first of the month, we can cut the private lenders a check for the interest. The 15th of the month, or right around there, if there's a distribution to be cut, we give them a second check. And the third is, well, let me back up. Let me just tell you something. If you have a private lender that's getting interest on the first on the money that they lend, and then they're all of a sudden, if the hotel generates, let's say 20,000 in cash flow, they get a second check in the middle of the month for $2,000. But finally, what happens if you decide to sell the hotel in 3 to 5 years? Now, I want you to, and I don't have a slide for this, but I want to tell you something, and I hope you write this down. Hotels are valued a little bit differently than other things or other commercial real estate. Still, you know, income is where you generate or where the value is derived from. However, it's a little bit different with hotels. It's off of a multiplier. That multiplier is 3 times, and that multiplier is off of, not only is it 3 times, but it's 3 times off of the gross revenue, not NOI, not the net, but the gross. So if a hotel generates $1 million a year, what's it worth? 3 million. If it generates $500,000 a year, what's it worth? 1.5 million. If it generates $700,000 a year, what's it worth? 2.1 million. You get the picture. But we're buying properties, guys, and I'll show you some examples here in just a minute. We're buying properties where if we buy it for $1 million, and let's say the revenue is only 400,000, we raise the revenue to 700,000, it's worth 2.1, and we decide to sell it, we make $1 million off the sale, right? Well, if you got a private investor who's involved and they're getting interest on their money, they're getting cash flow distribution checks in the middle of the month, and if you decide to sell, they get 10% of the sale as well. That means they get a $100,000 bonus on the back end. My goodness. Private lenders love working with us on hotels and our students because of these three wonderful and generators of money for not only their bank account, but a lot of them use even IRA money as well. So they get hotel ownership, etc. So if you guys, if there's any private lenders who are interested in getting involved with any deals that we're doing right now, by all means, give us a telephone call. We're doing lots of deals right now. I'm pretty sure we can plug you into something pretty quick. So give us a call by using the number that you saw on the screen, or just going to our website. All right, now let's move on. Do you think you can play Monopoly? Trade in those houses and purchase hotels using the same strategies that you're using for houses, lease options, owner financing? Absolutely. Do you guys think that there's properties out there where you can go in and have a seller tell you, well, you don't have to make a payment for 4 months and you don't have to put a down payment? We have come across that time and time again. There are, but remember, when you're out there looking for deals, make sure that you do your due diligence by walking every room on the top floor. Why would I want you to walk every room on the top floor? Because you have to look for leaks, right? However, get a checklist of occupied rooms. Don't do what I did and get your checklist and just start walking in, because when I got the room 119 at this hotel, and I have to bring this up, I walked right in on these people that were there, and they were only there for like 2 or 3 minutes. But when I walked in on them, it was like they were there for a lot longer, because they were, unfortunately, or fortunately for them, but uh, they were doing things that I should not have seen, and it was just there were no clothes and no sheets, no nothing. So I closed the door as quickly as I could after snapping a couple of I'm just kidding. I didn't take any photos. I just ran. Okay, I ran, but I am still scarred about it. And if I do see you at a boot camp, I'll tell you a little bit more about it. But it was a lot of fun. Anyway, let me move on, because this is a let's talk about some deals. Can we talk about deals? Let's do that. We got the McFarlands here. Bought a bought a property up in Tennessee for 1.2. We helped them get into that property for 1.2. They took the revenue from 400 grand to over $1 million a year, selling it for 2.8. They're going to make over a million, 1.5, 1.6 million in just 1 year, guys. In 1 year, they raised the revenue. They generated that much value by raising the revenue from 400 to over $1 million a year, and now they're selling. Do you know that you can buy a property on a lease option, and on your very first month on a lease option, without having put any money out of pocket? And or if there was any money, it wasn't your money. Maybe you had to borrow the money. But if you did a lease option, did you know you can make $18,000 a month in cash flow on your very first month? What about my man Dennis here? My man Dennis, I love talking about Dennis in this deal, because it was a very, very creative deal that we put together. I love bragging about the terms. How we were able to go in with no payments. We needed a runway for the property. We stair stepped the payments. We were at 3,000, then we went to 3,500, then it went to 4,000, then to 4,500, and the expenses are anywhere from 50 to 23, and the income's 30 to 40. But the real reason that I actually show this slide is because my man Dennis, he was a speaker. He had his own real estate club down in Houston, and an amazing, amazing individual. As a matter of fact, he became my very first coach, and I helped him buy this property in early 2011. However, in September in 2011, my man Dennis here had a stroke, and when he had a stroke, it was a really, really bad one, and he's paralyzed, and he can't speak, and he's in a wheelchair, and um, it's it's uh, it's sad. And it breaks me up sometimes when I really go back and think about how shook up I was when it all happened, and I could not believe that it happened. But one of the things that I was proud of was that when Dennis came to my very first boot camp, he had this deal sitting underneath his nose, just didn't know really what to do with it. But he took action, and he grabbed me and he said, "Jason, let's do this deal. I want to do this deal. I know we can probably, we can turn it around and help it make money." And so we did that, and we bought it, and you know what? Because Dennis took initiative, and he took action, and he actually did this. He didn't wait for the government. He didn't wait on a 401k. He didn't wait for a company to later on lay him off. Dennis took matter into his own hands, and he did just one of these deals. All you have to do is just one, just like Dennis. And now we can at least take care of his wife and him for the rest of their lives, because they did just one deal, just this one. Now, on a lighter note, are there certain cities across the country that have hotels where there sometimes can be a, special occasion, like a Super Bowl? The cool thing about this property was, is it up in Indianapolis, Indiana, and a couple years ago they had a Super Bowl up there. And I believe that every single hotel in town, you're going to love this, they were renting out their rooms between, I think, $300 to $700 a night. But here's the kicker: you had to purchase a 4-night minimum, meaning you couldn't just stay one night for $700 or $500. You had to purchase 4 nights at $500. So you had to basically pay. If it was $500 and you pay 4 nights, that's $2,000. This property had 188 rooms, and then I think Richard and Claire did over $180,000 just in February alone. In Columbus, We bought a property, another one. This was actually an auction property as well. An amazing price of $605,000. Backing ourselves into the deal, Ron and Jackie, we knew that the property's expenses were only right around $44,000 a month. The property never had done less than $58,000 a month. And on their very first month of takeover, they made $22,000. And one of my favorites, guys, is a property that we closed on New Year's last year, January 2013, where the property was generating about $900,000 a year. And last year, I think we did close to $1.3 million. So what's the property worth if we take it from 900K to almost 1.3? What is it worth now? And we had a lease option on the front end. We converted to owner financing, which is a beautiful thing. I love being creative on these deals, just like we did on Dennis's deal in Victoria. We had a lease option for 3 to 4 years, and we exercised that option with owner financing, just like we did right here. And of course, whenever my kids are out of school or they're on vacation or holiday, if I've got a hotel deal, they're coming with me. And so this is obviously one of my kids. Teaching my kids, teaching your kids is priceless. Giving them the opportunity to hand them one of these and teaching them about this business is a gift, and it's priceless that they get to keep forever. I've got my kid checking people in, running credit cards. She was washing windows. She was sweeping. She was mopping. It was amazing. Okay. And this to me is truly a gift. And if you guys want to have an opportunity to have a gift like this, if you want to take control of your life and make your own decisions and set your own schedule and not have to be someplace because you got somebody saying that you have to be there because they tell you to, and then if you don't get there, they threaten your livelihood and your job. Guys, it only takes one of these deals. You're the boss now. You're the owner. And using the same time and energy and strategies that you're using right now, you're already doing it right now with houses. You use the same time, energy, and strategies. And instead of just making hundreds of dollars a month in cash flow, you're going to be making thousands of dollars on your very first deal. Now, as you see right here, we don't sell books and we don't sell tapes. We just teach people how to do this business. And that's all we do. Okay? So I'm not one of those guys. This is something that's a lot bigger than selling books and tapes. We're teaching people and we're helping people change their lives. And the only way to do it is to sit there and teach you face to face how to actually do this and take you through the most intensive 3-day boot camp that you've ever been to in your life. Now, on day one, here's what you learn. First of all, how do we find the absolute best deals? Where do we find these deals? And after we find them, what is it we're actually looking for? The actual business model of what we're looking for. How do we evaluate these cash flowing machines? How do we evaluate these properties? And finally, what do we say and how do we say it? Meaning that when you come to a boot camp, I'm actually going to go over a part where it's what to say and how to say it, but we're going to have live calls where you, that's right, you, all of the attendees of the boot camp will be giving me the phone numbers to sellers, to brokers, to lenders. You guys give me the phone numbers and I do everything live so you actually get to see what it's like to be on a live call, when I'm calling a hotel, when I'm calling a broker or a seller, and you guys get to pick the numbers, not me. All right? On-site due diligence, what do we do when we actually get on site? And finally, at the end of day one, it's franchise versus independent. You need to know that some hotels are branded with franchises, some of them are independent hotels. What's better, what's worse, etc. Day two, this is getting fun. Proposals. How do we make the offers? Purchasing methods. How do we use the same strategies right now on houses that we're doing and apply it towards a hotel? Because there are a little couple of tweaks here and there. Then we're going to teach you those tweaks. Capital. Where do we find the money? I don't want to use my own money, so where do we find it? How do we get the seller to accept a no money down deal? What if we need some money? Where do we go? Do we get it? We've got all that covered. Prior to closing, what do we do actually before we close? And then finally, it's time to celebrate. By the end of day two, you've gone through the whole process of closing on a hotel. But day three is probably my most favorite day Because on day 3, it's all about how do we put heads in beds, okay? How do we market? Because like I said, we've got a completely different mindset when it comes to marketing. We don't have the whole, mindset where it's going to we build these properties and they will come. No, 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 no. We buy these properties right, and then we make them come because we will outmarket every single hotel in that area in that town. Nobody markets their hotels the way that we market our hotels. We don't just wait for the business. We go out and we actually get the business. I'm going to show you how to do that number 1 on day 3. Finally, after that, after the closing, what your manager is doing while you're looking for your next deal. Meaning we're going to show you all the operational stuff, all the behind the scenes stuff, what goes on, what your manager is doing, the manager who is there at your hotel while you're out looking for your next hotel deal. And the cool thing about it is we even have our own hotel management company. We work with a lot of professionals. So take that fear out of it. You've got somebody who's on site managing your hotel for you while you're looking for your very next deal, because that's how you scale. That's how you purchase multiple hotels, because you need number 1. Once you get number 1, then you go to this ending part right here, which is exit strategies. Now that you have your first hotel, it's time to make some real money. Guys, I'm going to be going over examples of how I've met lots of hotel owners over my time. A lot of them. The average hotel owner in America owns a minimum of 4 hotels. I'll talk about examples of some that make $90 million a year. I've got a gentleman, a friend of mine, a personal friend of mine, that actually started when he was 18 years old, owning 50% of a Days Inn, and now has $100 million in his bank account. But it all started with getting a piece of that very first hotel. And exit strategies, guys, this is the part that you don't want to miss. This is where you are going to, we talk about cash flow, and I love cash flow, but guess what? After you get hotel number 1, the world opens up to you, and you have so many different opportunities, but we just have to get you into number 1, and that's it. All right, so that's day 1, day 2, and day 3. Now, our boot camps are not like your typical boot camp that some of you guys have probably been to before. Ours are limited. We do smaller boot camps. I cannot do a 200 or 300 or 400 person boot camp. It makes no sense. I can't answer all the questions because there's a lot of them. It's all classroom style setup, okay? And no question goes unanswered. So our rooms are a lot smaller. They're a lot more intimate. It's a lot more personal. And again, it's all classroom style setup. So, but it's very, very personal, and it's just me and my team, and that's it. So it's all 3 days of content about what I just showed you on how to buy your very first hotel, so that you can make between $10,000 to $20,000 a month on for the rest of your life on your very first deal. Now, here's one of the things that I love to tell people. The whole Rich in 5 thing, that can be a plan. That can be a plan for you, and all you have to do is buy 1 hotel a year for 5 years. And at the end of 5 years, how much money will you make? How much money will you have coming in on a monthly basis if you do just 1 hotel a year for 5 years? That's right, $50,000 to $100,000 a month. Now that is a 5-year plan. So what's the price of that plan, Jason? What is the price of me making this $10,000 to $20,000 a month on my very first deal? Well, I've got it right here laid out at $997, including a spouse. I've got it at $1597 for business partners. But what I'm going to do right now, because our next boot camp is already getting close to being sold out. We just sold out of our last one. We have another one that's just getting ready to be sold out. I'm being very, very aggressive about getting you guys there and teaching you how to do this. So what I'm going to do, because the seating is very limited, I'm going to give you the price of only $299 a person with your spouse. So $299, and that's with your spouse. If you're bringing a business partner, so if it's 2 business partners, then it's only $399. If it's you and a spouse, then it's only $299. All right. Now, anyone who signs up, and you actually have to sign up today, because today I'm going to be giving you a special bonus that I just produced this, and I think you're going to love it. You are going to get, with your hotel bootcamp manual, We can either have it waiting for you at the boot camp, or we can mail it to you so you can kind of get a head start. But for the first time, I'm going to be giving you a CD pack that is going to include these quick start things right here: how to find, evaluate, add value, and how to fund your deals. That CD kit is this is the first time I've ever offered it, and I'm going to be including that with your manual that I could either have waiting for you at the boot camp itself, or I can get you started and I can mail it out to you right now. All you have to do to save and register your spot is by calling this number 512-788-1710, or just go to richin5.com. At richin5.com, you can go to boot camps and you can go to register now, and you can sign up either online, or if you want to speak to a person, I've got a couple of people here at the office that are waiting for your call right now at 512-788-1710, and they'll be happy to get you registered, get you signed up. They'll send you the email, they'll tell you the time, the slot, the location, everything, and you're going to have a number of different places that you could possibly even choose from as well. But on this very, very next boot camp that we have, I know that they go very, very quickly because we just don't have those enormous rooms of 200 to 300 people. I like to keep our rooms intimate and small. So go ahead, write this number down: 512-788-1710. I've got a couple of people standing by right now, and or you can just go online at www.richin5.com, and you get a chance to start this year with something that makes sense, with something that is doable, because I've done it and so many of my other students have done it as well, and something that I know that you can do too. You just have to say to yourself, let's do it. I'm finally going to do this. Makes so much sense to me, because a lot of people even ask me, Jason, why hotels? Did you do anything else? Absolutely not. After I did so many houses, when I got my first hotel, everything clicked. It made sense to me. It's recession proof. It's cash flow. It's equity. It's all the stuff that it's all the reasons that I got in real estate in the first place. So I'm ready to meet you guys. I will see you hopefully at the very next boot camp. Call right now, because I don't know how many seats we have left at this very next one, but call 512-788-1710, and I'm going to, because we have them right now, we just started them. This is the very first batch we've ever had. I don't have that many, but I know that we have a good box full. Call up and we're going to send you not only the manuals, but you'll get that bonus CD as well. 512-788-1710. This is Jason Schubert of Rich and Five, and I can't wait to see you guys at the very next boot camp so I can help you too get your very first hotel. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a fantastic day, and let's have a great year.